You all right?
Yeah, you look snazzy.
I did, yeah. Well, I thought I did, and then yeah, I look like a dustman from the '60s.
I think you're being very harsh and specific on yourself.
You good? You all right?
Yeah, fine. I think yeah, fine. It's a weird time of year, isn't it? So
Yeah,
I think I feel fine. The ice does not help because I've been telling my partner. I said, oh, you need to get because he's got the. Well, this is very boring, but he's got the. You know when you put water in your for your windscreen wipers and
yeah,
then it
yeah, yeah.
freezes over, so that it's just like sandy slush. So then I said, oh, you need to get my windscreen wiper solution that I got because it can take up to minus 20 degrees. And I was telling him all this, and then yesterday, fucking frozen. So even my fantastic me preaching about my windscreen wiping solution, terrible. So
But aren't you? Don't you live in? Don't you live in? You live in the countryside, don't
yeah,
you? So
yeah.
is that? It must be worse because it's a bit more open where you live.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, when you look out, because you can see all the peaks and that from
Yeah,
where we are, it's all completely white, and then it's just yeah, just really icy. But I'm not really because I just sort of yeah, I'm not too like up the windy. There's a hit. Oh my god, we were gonna move to this house that's literally. In fact, that's even being generous. It's like so. I don't know how you'd manage, and because cars parked there, so I don't know how they'd manage in
yeah,
this weather. And then because I saw coming back from a gig last night, I saw a man in the middle of a road with two Asda bags on his shoulders. And I thought, oh bless him, I think he might be mentally ill. And then I was like, oh no, it's because of the pavements are so icy, so he's just in the middle of the road trying. Oh, I mean, he didn't have to be right in the middle of the road, did he? Really?
I think it's one of them. You just get to a point where just none of it makes sense. Nothing we
Yeah,
do makes sense. We're
yeah,
just trying to stay upright.
yeah. All bets are off.
Yeah, it's like just trying to park just now, and the top of the multi-story is just covered in old snow, which is now ice, and
Oh
so people are
no.
trying to get up the ramp, and then they're having to come back down again, and so it was all and no one. We're not used to it, so no one knows how to handle it, and we're all being sort of quite well mannered. We're all trying to help each other reverse and get out of the way, and yeah, oh god, we're rubbish. We're
And
so
it's, but
rubbish.
we say we're not used to it, but it happens every bloody year, and then we still don't know. And then you always think back to because I'm sure the only time was these are questions on our theory test. Like,
Yeah,
are you supposed to drive into the slide or whatever? So I always think, what did it say on my? Because I think other than that, we would never know. Because what are you supposed to? Because you are supposed to drive into. If you skid, you're supposed to like drive into it, aren't you?
yeah. But I
But
mean,
that doesn't feel natural.
no, and it doesn't matter how long you've been driving. If something like that takes you, none of us are. Well, none of us are Fast and the Furious, are we? So when something like that happens, you just kind of just like I was driving to a gig. We were going to Weston-super-Mare. It was early on a Sunday. There was three of us in the car. And we were driving up the road, up the motorway, and it was just the rain was so solid that the floor was like a mirror, and it was just fucked. And cars were crashing into each other, left, right, and centre. And as we were going up, this car hit the central reservation on the other side, and all the bits flew
Oh
over the
no.
barrier onto our car. But I don't know, I was just so focused on getting to the gig, I just kind of drove through it, and it all sort of bounced off, and I kept going. And then this guy behind me kept flashing. So I'm like, what's going on here? So I pulled over, and then he pulled in, and he's like, are you all right? I went, yeah, we're fine. I thought it was like something stuck under the car, and he went, no. He goes, I just saw what happened. He goes, and then you just kept going. He goes, did you see what happened? I went, well, I just saw the bits come flying over. I didn't see exactly what happened. I couldn't have told. I wouldn't have been a very good witness. And he's like, I just want to make sure you're all right. I'm like, yeah, mate, I got to go. But yeah, I don't know. It depends, doesn't it? It depends. It's all very real going, oh, you have to do that when
Yeah,
the skid
yeah.
happens. But at the time, your reaction, you could do anything. I don't know.
Well, exactly. No, you're right. Because what's it called? Like when you said it's like if it was like aquaplaning, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've done that before, and you're just gliding along. You're like bloody
Oh,
hell.
shit, have you?
Yeah, Yeah, because I had to go because the trains were down, so I had to like last minute drive to London, and pretty much the whole way there, I was just gliding along, and then I remember another comedian said to me, "Oh, you need to get some winter tyres, Harriet." And then that's all I could think of. Oh, why didn't I get some winter tyres?
See, that's the thing, innit? Now, I've known you a few years.
Yeah.
And I know that if someone says something like that's it, that's all you can think about.
Yeah.
And you've never thought about winter tyres before.
No. Well, because I think the problem is, like, I would get winter tyres, but all 4 of your tyres never need changing at the same time.
No,
so
weird,
you'd have to get rid of another tyre, which that to me is I can't make sense of it.
I think that's what you have to do. You have to.
You have to completely start again. But I think, well, what if one of my tyres is looking exceptional, and then that goes to a waste, doesn't it?
I don't think you throw them away. I think in an ideal world, in the perfect world where these winter tyres exist, they've got a garage, and every year what you do is you swap your. So you've got you've not only got tyres, you've got 2 sets of wheels. And so in your garage, in your perfect little garage, with all your perfect little tools and all your perfect lubricants and all the stuff, you've got like a winter wardrobe and a summer wardrobe. You've got your winter stuff down one side, you've got your summer stuff down the other, and your different sets of wheels. And then you go, oh, it's October, I better swap my wheels.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
I'm just going to butt in here because I know my friends bought winter tyres and would bang on with me. I know where they go if you haven't got your own garage. You can have them garaged at your Quick Fits and places like. They have a holiday. They have a bit of winter, a bit of a winter warm. While we're all suffering, your summer tyres are kicking back, having a great time without you. It's not fair.
It's a different world, the middle classes. Working class people, they're lucky they got tyres. But you lot have got fucking holiday homes for your wheels. See what I have to deal with.
I'm instantly thinking it's a racket as well. And there's someone, if they're stored at Quick Fit, and then giving them to people the other sides of the world where it's summer.
Oh, you think they're all just swapping them around? They're sending them out. Oh,
yeah.
You're going, oh, yeah, we're looking after your tyres. Yeah. And they're making...
there's someone in Honolulu, like, woo.
Driving around on British summer tyres.
Yeah. That's what I think is happening.
If that's not happening, that should happen. I think that's... Yeah, why not? It's like you can timeshare your tyres. That's madness. I like that. That would be... Yeah, why not? It's better than them sitting there. Mind you, yeah.
But then they'd wear down, wouldn't they?
That's true. Yeah. And then you don't know where you are, And then they'd come back. They'd be worn down. Then you got to replace them.
Exactly. Then we're back where we started. Rich.
We haven't thought of this through at all, have we?
No.
How you been anyway? You all right?
Yeah, I think I'm all right. You just get on, don't you? Really?
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's all right. We're trying to move house at the minute, and but only to a new rented house because we need the space because my partner's kids moved in a couple of years ago in lockdown, and then we need the extra room. So, but even just renting when you say you're a comic or whatever, now because my partner's now self-employed as well because he's a personal trainer, and it's just at some points I was getting completely ghosted when I was saying I was a comedian. I think people think that it's like would be a lie. So I'm now having to be more like, oh, I'm a media content. I'm having to go so far removed because even writer that wasn't.
Really?
Helping, yeah. So it's just been difficult. And then in the end, so I think we're moving, with this guy. But the guy, he keeps releasing more information. So he put the holding deposit down, but the place, because I was so desperate to move, there was a complete building site. So I was like, yeah, I'll have it. and then he keeps releasing like more information so he's like, yesterday he was like, oh, just to let you know, I will be your next door neighbour, so I'll be seeing you all the time. And I was like, well, that's strange, isn't it? So every time we correspond, he releases another bit of information that is strange. So
no. Oh no.
So you never want to see your landlord, do
No,
you?
of course not. You don't even next door. What can you do next door? Jeez.
Exactly.
It's one of it. It's funny, isn't it, with renting and stuff. It's like the rents are going through the roof.
Oh,
And
ridiculous.
Yeah, and as you say, you go, oh, I'm self-employed, and then they go, oh.
Yeah.
You go, well, what am I supposed to do then if I can't rent? What and I can't buy? What am I meant to do? They go, oh yeah, go and live with someone else. You go, well, I can't, can I? I'm 50 years old. What are you on about?
Exactly. I'm a
ridiculous.
grown up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So especially like if like me and the kids can't move in, go into a house share.
They don't give a shit, do they?
Room
They
for
just,
four.
just turn up on your mum and dad's doorstep. Hello. I've got some news, but firstly, put the kettle on.
Yeah, but even that, like, because my family live in Cornwall, so you couldn't do comedy and live down there. It would just be impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then when I met the guy, he was like, oh yeah, we've got, because me and my partner have a car each. He said, oh yeah, of course. And then when we're meeting tomorrow, he's like, oh, we need to talk about the parking. So I was like, oh, well, you need to not agree to stuff. And then. But I may well be wooed with a dishwasher. Never had a dishwasher before. He said, oh, we need to talk about the dishwasher. I was like, a dishwasher? Never had a... That's well middle class, though, isn't it? A dishwasher.
Yeah, it used to be. I don't know if it is now. I mean, I never had one when I was growing up.
No.
But we've got one.
You've got one? Do you use it?
Well, no, sometimes... If there's loads, but we don't let it build up, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I don't. I just kind of do it. I quite like doing it, actually. I quite like washing up.
I find washing up and having a shower, I think a lot I think of jokes or stuff like that when I'm in the shower or doing the dishes.
Well, Sean Ryder said the same thing. He quite likes. I was listening to his audio book, How to Be a Rock Star, and he said,
didn't know he had one. I love him.
Yeah, it's great.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
he's supposed to live near me in Gossip, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not far. It's not far. And he was talking about the washing up. He said, yeah, he quite likes doing it, getting it done. But I do remember years ago, it was nearly 20 years ago now. I was living in Maidstone in Kent, and I was living with a partner, and her and I, because it was just mad. It was a party all the time. We I couldn't even be bothered to do the washing up. It just like stack up. It was like with now and I just. I don't even know why, because now I can't handle it. I'm like, oh no, I need to wash that up. I can't just leave it. I'm like, as soon as I've eaten something, I'm like washing it up.
Yeah.
Put it on the side.
Well, when it gets so high, you must think, well, what's the point? Especially because when you're in party mode as well. Yeah. Washing up doesn't matter.
No, exactly. You just start drinking out of vases and baking trays.
So that makes gives it all a bit more of an edge, doesn't it?
You don't give a shit because you're so off your nut anyway.
Exactly.
But so I've known you a few years, and you've been very open about your struggles with your own mental health. I think I found that quite inspirational over the years listening to you. You're very open about what's gone on and things you've been through, and
Well, I can't really because I sort of say this in my latest show. I say it's not really been a conscious decision. It's more of a case of people meet me and then they need an explanation because I don't know really. I think because when I first started doing comedy. I never thought of it, and then at uni, I did like a weird sketch thing with someone, and then which was awful. And then I've never been great at working in groups, and then I worked by myself doing. Then I turned up, and everyone was like, "Oh, are you ready for the stand-up comedy assessment?" I was like, "What?" And someone said, "Oh, tell that story that you told at the pub." The other week about how you died twice, and I was like, oh right, funny that it sounds. So then I was like, so from the off, I spoke about like what was true, and found, I guess, solace in sort of making shit that I'd been through funny and getting laughs from it. So yeah, so I guess and then at the time I had like a terrible drink problem, and then the head of drama at uni was like, oh, we need to, she actually got me extenuated circumstances to carry on the course. We went to the doctor because there was a drink problem, blah, blah, blah. So I think because it all started, comedy started when in chaotic and tough times, then it's always been, and I always like, it's always easier to chat about what you know. Like I've never been like, well, I don't know, what do normal people talk about? See, I'm trying to do an example here. I can even tell you.
Well, I think because of this comes up a lot because of my generation and the generations before not really talking about it. I guess it's more normal now for people to be more open about their things, and so that seems odd to people of my age and a bit young and a bit older. Whereas you're like, well, what else do people talk about then? We are, Well,
I guess when I first did talk about it, I guess it wasn't as, because my parents as well, because my dad was born in the late 40s. So my dad's gay, and he was born in the late 40s when it was illegal to be gay, which is just insane. So I think he, you would, wouldn't it? How you feel if society's telling you that it's not only bad, that it's so bad that it's illegal. That would definitely, I definitely think my dad would have had mental health issues, and my mum, but neither. My mum's from a small town in Doncaster, so they definitely did, but never spoke about it. And I think even that, like years ago, when I was like telling my dad, I think because I often battle with, I think often we think, oh well, we're somehow failing as a human if we need medication for our brains and stuff. And I've definitely a few years ago gone to my dad, I think I don't know whether to carry on taking this, and my dad's like, oh no, you like sort of, why would you take that? So I think they'll always think a bit like that. So I get it, but although, because I once made the mistake of, I was resident compere for this comedy club, and I made the mistake of reading the reviews, and the one woman was like, oh god, she what's it called, overshares far too much. So maybe I too, because there's no I saw this interview with the guy from, is he called Jordan from Rizzle Kicks, and he said that he's got ADHD, and he found out because he took some of his friends' Ritalin and then found that he could think things before saying it, and then said to his friends, oh, is this what happens to people, that they think first and then say things? And their friend was like, yeah, and he was like, oh wow,
never heard that.
Do you know that?
I know what you mean.
So you say it, so when you think something, it doesn't come out of your mouth?
Not all the time. Sometimes what happens with me is that I say the wrong thing. So I do have the process where I go, oh yeah, say that, and I'm like, is that good? Yeah, that'd be fine. And then I say it, and then I see people's faces go, all right, mate, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah, sorry, that was a lot. Oh
no, so yours is that you do still think it, but even when you're thinking it, you're then thinking the wrong thing and still saying it.
My parameters they're a bit further out than other people's, so I say stuff and they go, okay, well, I don't know if the dinner table is the place, but you want to talk about that? Well, do you know what? In that brief space of time, you have said so much that we need to unpack. Right, right, hang on, we need to go back. What do you mean you nearly died twice?
Oh yeah, so when I was, because I had a lot of abuse and that as a child, and I was very mentally ill as well, and my mum was fantastic, but just would say I was eccentric, so it never got sort of sorted out really. So then, so then I just went from such a young age, just drank and did drugs and stuff, and then my body was just I think just having a terrible time. And then I went to this nightclub in Newquay and with sticky floor that sold pasties. It's fantastic.
What a place.
What a place. And you know, I remember once the next day I woke up and I had a whole pasty stuck to the bottom of my foot.
I mean,
Like
most people
mould
get gum or
No, this
something.
is
Only in
full on.
Cornwall.
Yep. And then, so I was in this nightclub, and I had this terrible pain, and then all my friends were just like, "Oh, dance it off." So I was like, "All right." So I was dancing it off, but it turned out my appendix had burst, and I had no idea.
Shit.
And then at the time I was going out with this guy, and he was very skinny, very hairy, so we called him the pipe cleaner.
Right.
And then he was like, "Oh, come out with me afterwards." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I can. I'm in a lot of pain." And in the end, we went for a walk on the beach. Got home, silly o'clock in the morning, and then I couldn't even make it to my bed. And then my mum's spidey senses was like, something's not right. So then I was like, "Oh, I'm in so much pain." And then Mum called the Kerno doc. And then he was like, "Oh, she's fine." And then my mum didn't believe him, so she called the doctor that used to be a vet who like will touch you in very odd places, but he's like, "Oh yeah, she's dying, get her to hospital."
Oh shit.
So then I got rushed into hospital, and then the doctor there goes, because I was 17, the doctor there goes, "Oh, when did you lose your virginity?" Which, don't you think that's weird? Because if
What?
they thought you were pregnant, they would just go, "Is there a chance you could be pregnant?"
Yeah,
But why would you need to know what age I lost my virginity?
Yeah, that seems
so that was
weird.
weird. Yeah, and then I was rushed into theatre, and then died on the operating table and was
my
bejumped
God.
and everything. And then people say, "Oh, did you?" And I remember seeing the tops of the surgeons' hands. I remember like looking down at what they were doing, and then which makes me think, "Oh, maybe I was like floating off or something." And then people say, "Oh, maybe there were mirrors on the ceiling," but it's not Hugh Hefner's bedroom. Why would there be mirrors on the ceiling
Nah,
in the
I know.
hospital?
I've never heard anyone go, "Oh yeah, it'd be the mirrors on the ceiling." No.
Yeah,
What are you on about? Why would there be mirrors on the ceiling? What?
exactly.
You don't need to see what's going on if you.
Exactly. So I think I was just floating off. Let me have it, guys.
Yeah. Well, enough people have said the same thing, so it must be a thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's true or not, whether it's just your brain playing games, or it is you are off. You're off.
Yeah.
Your soul's off.
And that's nice to think.
Yeah,
isn't
I'd
it?
like that. I think I
Yeah.
prefer that than just your brain going, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Boop. Yeah, definitely.
But how can you? Because I've heard other people say that their appendix burst, and then that was it. They burst, and they were like, I couldn't do anything. But you just carried on dancing.
Well, because I was on drugs, so maybe I was
yeah.
surviving purely on ecstasy.
You were already
Yeah.
high.
And
so-
pasties.
Pills and pasties. That's going to be a great audio book. I look forward to that. Pills and pasties and bellyaches.
Pills and pasties. That is good. so then I was told that I could leave after a good couple of weeks. I was told that I could leave the hospital after if I kept, because I couldn't keep my food down. They were like, "If you keep this baked potato down, you can go home." And then I didn't keep it down, but they sent me home anyway. And then I sounded like, do you remember Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle that used to go, "I can't breathe"? And then my mum and brother were like, "Oh my God, you really sound like him." And I was like, "Yeah, but I can't breathe." And then the doctor come around again, and he was like, "God, I think
Hang on.
she's got pneumonia." So then I went back into hospital again because the nurse didn't have her glasses on and didn't plug me into the bloody what's it called, the nebulizer, the breathing thing properly. Yeah.
Oh, mate, we lost you for a bit there.
Oh.
When you're, so you just said to your pet, the doctor said, "Oh my God, I think," and then we missed what you said.
Oh, I think she's got pneumonia.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so then I went, back in, died again.
Bloody hell. And do you remember anything about it apart from the floating about a bit? Do you remember?
No.
Because you were just gone.
Yeah, but I remember it must have been bad because every time people come to see me, they were like aghast. And I
Yeah.
remember they'd come in the ward and then they looked shocked. I remember that. And I remember that so solid 21 seconds. I'm sure it was number 1 at the time. I remember that song everywhere. Sounds a long time ago, isn't it?
Yeah. Bloody hell. And now look at you.
Yeah.
And then later on, you were saying that your dad was gay. And then did he come out when you were young, or was that a later on thing?
Well, that was because I thought like my parents had this fantastic relationship, and then my poor dad must have just been hiding because he in Cornwall he was brought up on a farm, which is backwards at the best of times, let alone when it's illegal to be gay. It's terrible. So then I don't know for sure when he was, because he was on a lot of business meets, going off on business meetings and stuff like that, and I have no idea which were business meetings and which weren't. But one time he went, the first time that he just full on, well, when it wasn't a business meeting, he just sort of disappeared for a bit. He was off with this man, and it was so out of character that I remember the whole street was looking for him because it was so out of character. But then it sort of happened more and more, and I think like I hated him at the and I'm sure I knew before anyone else did. I don't know, because I have a joke about it, but I thought I made that joke up, but I feel like because he'd be on the computer a lot, and I think he'd go, if I'd go, oh Dad, can I have a chewing gum, he'd go in my bag, and then I go to get chewing, and there'd be like a tub of lube and stuff, so there was like like clues piecing together. So I feel like I knew, and then was telling him to tell Mum and telling him but yeah, he wanted to, because he had this lovely family, so he wanted both, which I thought made him a prick, but he was just having, like, coming to terms with who he was, really. But then it was just sad because my mum, my mum had no idea. My mum, he was the only person my mum was ever with in her whole life.
Oh, wow.
And she had no idea. But when my dad then came out as gay, well, was sort of forced out of the house, I guess. People were like, "Oh yeah, we did fit." It's like, why didn't you bloody say anything? Well, poor mum had no idea, because my mum apparently had. So she was at like a crossroads. There was my dad, and then this guy that I think my dad either worked with or lived with that declared his love for her. And then my mum chose my dad, but the guy that declared his love for her was a diamond setter called Ray, who was, do you remember, but like, was it in the 70s maybe? There was there was this big advertising campaign about a man that was pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was him, the man in the... he was the man that declared his love for my mum, the man who was in the advertising campaign for the pregnant man. But I don't even know how that happened, especially if he was a diamond setter and not particularly a model or anything.
Yeah, he obviously did some extra work or something like that.
Yeah, so I think my mum often thought, oh, I wonder what would have happened if I'd have gone for the pregnant man.
And then they split up when your dad came out then.
But they never divorced or anything. Dad just lived, and then when my mum died, my dad moved back in the house, and then towards the end of for a lot of it, they were like, my dad would do my mum's head in, and she'd be like, oh, he's round again, looking through my drawers, but like I think they were really good friends, and it was my dad that would go get a medication and could do errands for her and stuff. So I think they had a real deep love for each other.
That's nice.
Yeah. Bless them.
How did you find all that? It must have been quite confusing for you. Because I had all the abuse stuff to process. Then I had that, and then because I was like a daddy's girl when I was younger as well. So then to see him now, I knew that this was happening, and he was upsetting Mum and with his actions, and so and then as well at the time, obviously I was being a teenager, so then all hormones. So I was very just a typical like goth, sad, Nirvana posters on them,
just very, I was just very, very upset all the time. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know which was where the issues began and stopped, and where just being a teenager was. So yeah, I just felt, I guess, very alone a lot of the time. But then now it's so weird because there was definitely a girl in my year at school whose dad left her mum for another man. And then there was, who ended up being like a next door neighbour friend that I had. Her dad did the same. And Matt Price, the comedian from Cornwall, he is actually was brought up the opposite side of a little river from me, and his dad is also gay, and he worked in the fish factory. When I was at secondary school one day, there was this terrible smell, and that's because the fish factory was on fire. And Matt says so that's weird, isn't it? That it's all that
going on.
There's so many dads are gay, unless it is just a thing that is more of that era thing because people couldn't be themselves. Maybe that's what it is. It's more that they're from the same era rather than it's a Cornish thing.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's definitely, yes, a lot more people were doing what they thought they should do rather than what they wanted to do. You know, society saying like, well, you're a man and a woman and you have to get married and you have to have kids. Whereas now we're all kind of like, well, if that's not what you're into, you don't even have to get married.
Well, I was talking to my neighbour about this only yesterday because we were saying, because do you remember when it was like, oh, that bastard child out of wedlock?
Yeah, like it was a bad thing.
Yeah, and then now that's just, I wonder when that just stopped, because that's just suddenly stopped being a thing when that was really such an awful thing, not even that long ago.
Well, that was it. I think, when I was. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, when I was as I was born, it would have been that. Right, she's pregnant. You did it. Like it was like just like two people were having a bit of fun, and pregnancy happened. It wasn't like and then they're like, oh shit, okay. But now it's like, right, now you have to get married. It's the law, because God won't like you. And
God, so that is what it's all tied up in, isn't it? Do not let God down, you hussy.
Yeah, it's never the fella. Well done to the lad. Oh, well done, mate. Well done. It all works. Well done. But her, get in the bin. How dare you?
And as well, the whole thing of a bastard child.
Yeah.
That poor
fucker's born and already a bastard.
Yeah.
It's not human beings. When you look back at all that shit, if anyone listening, if whatever you believe is what you believe, and I'm not here to knock it. I'm just saying that a lot of it is weird.
Yeah.
When you really break it down, look at it, you go, that doesn't make sense. Why would that be a thing? What is it? It's been covered many times by many comedians, but what, the fella in the sky, he's the one. He gets to judge us all, and before we were even born, we were already in debt to him. Go fuck yourself, mate. Yeah. Who the fuck do you think you are? Oh, you made this, did you? Well, get back here and repair it, because it's fucked. Fucking dodgy dude, fucked off after his work. How dare you? But yeah, you're like, and you've been very open about what you've dealt with in your life, like, and you have just on here as well, but. Your mental health, I imagine, like having to deal with all that, and I imagine you didn't have counselling until much later on. No,
well, I've never really had it really, because even there's just been in it. I've only done it. I've never paid for it, which I think might be the problem. Once. So when I was younger, I had it, and. The lady that did it felt she was just quite distant, and then I one day said, "Oh, is everything all right?" And she said, "Oh, I'm thinking about moving back to India." So then we ended up making a list of pros and cons to stay, if she wanted to stay or if she wanted to go, and she ended up going.
Oh my God!
So that so that was odd. That I've just had sort of experience after, like, I've had. sort of the counsellors that have gone, like when I've not been drinking and stuff, I've had one counsellor be like, oh, I bet you'd be so much fun to go out on the piss with, and we've ended up going out on the piss. So I just had odd.
You went out with them on the piss.
Yeah, that they were like, oh, I bet you'd be really fun to go out with, and then I was like, so we just fucked this off and go drinking, and then we did.
Mate, well, I'm glad you weren't paying for that. That's
yeah.
Just the counsellor. Shall we? Yeah, this is the counsellor from Afterlife, the Ricky Gervais thing.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, he's this like proper geezer, and he's just horrible. He's horrible. Yeah, but that's well.
Yeah, I've just had really, and then I was once on an emergency, had a bit of a breakdown, and then I was put on an emergency waiting list for 8 years. and then I finally had counselling, and then it was, in fact, the weather wasn't too dissimilar to it. It's now very snowy and icy. And first thing in the morning, and then there was this. This was when I was in Birmingham, and then I went to go in, and then there was this like black thing just in front of the door as you go in, like just under the snow. So then I thought, oh, I bet because it's so early in the morning that the counsellor's probably dropped a glove or something, and then I'll give it to her, give it to them, and then they'll be like, oh, now I have 2 warm hands. How will I repay her? I'll fix her brain. So then I've picked it up, gone in, and I've picked up a dead rat. Like a frozen rat. Who doesn't look at what they're picking up? I've just picked it up, and then as I've gone in, they're just looking at me horrified because I got this dead rat in my
didn't
hands.
even look at it when it was in your hand?
No, I've just picked it up and walked in because it's frozen. You couldn't feel a gloopy rat. So then, and then that, I was just really mortified about that. So then after waiting 8 years, I was like, I cannot go back after the whole rat fiasco. So then and then because I had one counsellor say, oh, that's very dramatic what you've been through. And I've just found like ended up just, but do you know what's really helped is constantly doing podcasts and shows and stuff and talking through. I do feel like that a lot of people don't get to do is talk things through, and then I'll and then when it ruminates, I'll think logically about it all, and I am well. Once when I was at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, I rang 101, and was it 101? Someone told me to ring. Oh, I was gonna kill myself anyway, and then they said. And then I was talking about it, and they said, oh, well, you seem very logical, so I'm not too worried about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm logically going to kill myself.
Yeah, this makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, but I always am, like, quite logical and about things, I think. And now I know, because I've been mental for so long, I know, when I just need to stop and step back and... maybe be a bit selfish and just thought. And I think that's a lot of it is not because especially when I was younger, I just lived for what for everyone else and for how they were, and whereas now, like obviously your kids and whatever, it's different with them, but on the whole, I haven't got time to entertain just nonsense and people that are toxic and all of that, which probably I used to do an awful lot. And I think that's a big part of feeling a lot better as well. Even maybe with people that aren't so much toxic, but just like going out drinking and just constantly doing social things that I never really enjoyed. I just did really, maybe for company or whatever.
Yeah.
And stopping all of that and doing what I want to do is, I think, just a massive game changer in being happier. Is just being just doing what you want to do. Is that normal? Do people do that, or I don't know whether.
I think it's just again, it's all about balance, isn't it? It's all about you can be there for people, but the trouble is Like my wife Kate at the minute, she's going through a bit of a thing with a friend of hers where she's just like, hang on a minute, you're taking the piss, and I'm a bit fed up. And
Yeah.
Kate, she doesn't say that. Normally she'll just go, no, I think it's me. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But she just went one day. She went, no, you are taking the piss, and I'm going to stand
Yeah.
up for myself, and I'm going to say something. And as soon as you do that, the other person immediately goes, oh, you're a shit friend. And you go, no. What? Because I've called you on your bullshit.
Yeah.
So and you can go, and now you can go. Well, do you know what? If that's how you feel, I'm telling you how I feel, and you're not accepting it, and I don't accept what you're saying. So do you know what? Why don't we just not be friends for a bit? You know, you go and do you, and I'll do me. I think because if you're a person that is there for other people all the time, you know, you do tend to sort of like forget about what you want, or you feel guilty when you put yourself first. Like now you've gone. But is that right? Is that normal? Go, yeah, you can put yourself first sometimes. You don't have to be. If it's all the time, then.
Oh yeah. But then I think because like with that as well, because I'm similar. If I call someone out on their shit, then that is like they have literally been asking for it for a very long time.
Exactly.
But people, it's difficult, isn't it? Because sometimes people just really take the piss as well, and I think a lot of people were taking the piss with me for a long because when people don't do stuff for other people never ask them because they'll go, oh well, they won't do it, but then they always get away with it. But then the people that say that do stuff then end up just always doing it, never taking any time for themselves, and just being an exhausting life.
Yeah, and these people, I've had it as well, where there's been a couple of people that I suddenly was like, oh yeah, you were fucking awful. And then you go, and there's a part of you goes, oh maybe, like later on, when you're not talking to those people anymore, and you're like, oh maybe, was I a bit over the top? Maybe I, you know. But then you hear other stories, and they go, oh yeah, they've been a dick to them as well, and them, and they're being a fucking dickhead to everybody. Like,
they're the common denominator.
Yeah, and they bounce from one person to the other, because everyone's calling them on their bullshit, and then it's funny, because there was someone who I was mates with, we were both mates with this person, and then I suddenly noticed that they weren't talking to me anymore. They were I'm like, oh, you're friends, okay. And then I'm like, all right, listen, you know what you're doing, get on with it. And then gradually they came back and went, oh, listen, I sort of believe what they were saying, and I'm really sorry because they fucked me over as well. And I go, well, I didn't want to say, you know, you make your own decisions, and then I didn't want that to happen to you, but I had a feeling it might. So it's all right. It's all right to put yourself first. You can put yourself first, and it's completely fine. You know, as long as it's all about balance, isn't it? Be there for people. Be there for yourself. You know, doesn't make you a bad person, especially after everything you've gone through. You know, you need to sort of take yourself off a bit and go, right, what's good for me for a minute? What do I need? You know, it's a lot.
Sometimes I wonder, like with counselling and stuff, because you hear all sorts of, like a friend of mine said to me that there's that one where you like, have you heard, it's like you follow like your eyes follow like a moving thing, and then it's supposed to like reset, like if there's like a specific big traumatic thing, then it's supposed to like reset how you were made to feel at that time or something. Like there's so many different ways to sort of processing and trauma and stuff these days, but I think overall I'm fine. I think I'm trying to think because I used to be really bad, like I couldn't sleep without like a light on, even in my like late 20s and that, and if anyone like I would get really triggered on public transport and stuff if people are too close. Although, having said that, in fact, I was at a gig the other day and I was watching, and then these two guys came in, and they were sort of quite laddie, and then I was watching the show in the corner at the back, and then they sort of like not through anything, just from how they were standing, they sort of accidentally blocked me in, and I felt sort of get a bit panicked, but then I was like, no, you're at a lovely little comedy night in Falmouth. Calm yourself, Harriet.
Yeah, relax.
Yeah, exactly. So that it's, you know, I think, yeah, so it's, you know, understanding why, you know, if because I think it's just natural for anyone to, especially if you've been through sort of, I guess, abuse and stuff, to feel, you know, if you feel trapped or, because, yeah, but I really get, like, I find, like, being in London and on the underground and that, just constantly, like, jammed in and packed in with people, I find that quite upsetting. But I think everyone in London finds that upsetting, don't they?
Yeah, and yeah, and having moved out recently, but been back for work.
Oh, so you don't live there anymore?
No, I've moved to Brighton. I live in Brighton now.
Oh,
So,
lovely.
Yeah, and because to me, like, Brighton's it's only an hour on the train, so I'm like, it's only up the road. But when I tell other people, they're like, no, that's miles away. I go, I don't know, I don't really think about it. But when I come back into London, I do see it now. Like the other day, I was like, fuck, there are so many people around.
Yeah, it's too
And
many.
It's too many, and I think I rarely take the tube now anyway, because I'm like, it's just as quick to walk, unless it's like one side of London to the other, then that's fair enough. But when you're bobbing around the middle, you kind of go, oh, I'll just walk. That'll take me half an hour, or that'll take me whatever. So yeah, it's too much. It's too much. And it's too much.
Yeah, that's bad
going
though
on.
that you didn't even realise until you'd left it and come back.
Just used to it, because I grew up in London, so I was like,
Yeah.
it just is what it is. And this has been said before, I think, with London specifically, because I don't feel like this in Manchester, and I know they're big cities as well, but London seems a little bit more ruthless. It's a little bit more. It doesn't care if you can keep up with it. It's just this is how London is. You either get on board, get on with it, because London hasn't got time to wait for you.
That's exactly it. Yeah, whereas up here, there's still a sense of if you're still conscious of giving people, if you can, a 2 metre distance and all that. There's still, whereas that, I don't know whether it was ever in, but it's definitely not in at the minute.
Definitely not.
No.
It was for a bit, but even then it started to slowly creep back.
But it's impossible with that amount of people, though, isn't there? Like, it's not possible.
No, but I do have such a love for Manchester and that area. And then I love Cornwall as well. Cornwall for me I've always got fond memories of being down there because of holidays. So.
Oh yeah, it's just for me it's just shit stuff up and down there, so I find it quite triggering. But when see it in a new, because my partner and the kids will go like bodyboarding and stuff down there, so it's been really lovely to see it through their eyes, because they're, especially the kids, I don't even know if they'd been to the seaside before, so to just see them just love it and love the sea, and then you realise, you know, how lucky you were to have all that around you, because it is beautiful. And you know, when the weather's nice, you wouldn't know if some Cornish beaches were even in, if someone told you that some of the beaches weren't even in this country, you wouldn't even question it. It's so beautiful, fine sand beaches and that. Lovely. Lovely.
It's beautiful down there. How do you find being a parent now, though? Like, you've got your partner's children. That must be, because it's difficult being a parent.
Because it was suddenly because we suddenly got them full time, so it's just been a lot, but nice as well, I think, because because they've had a bit of a tough time, so just trying to give the youngsters a better life is really nice, I think.
Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. And when you, like you said, when you were growing up, you had a lot to deal with, and I suppose.
Yeah, and they have had as well, which is sad.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So, but oh my God, is it normal to? Because I don't remember being like that. They just want everything all the time, like.
Well, there's so much to have.
Dirt bikes. That's the latest thing, but they're so dangerous.
I don't be giving. My youngest he loves motorbikes and cars and things like that, and he was always on about getting a motorbike, and I was like, I just don't think they're not safe.
Exactly.
You know, you're gonna get hurt. And
then you see the lads with their balaclavas doing just, well, I have a little bit of respect for them, because they just seem to be able to do wheelies for
They can bend the laws of physics.
Yeah,
Like,
a
how are you
consistent
doing
wheelie for like a mile. So that is quite impressive. But it's just so they've just got no sense for the highway code, Rich.
I think it feels like because the people in charge of the place aren't, we've all found out that they're just a bunch of, well, they've always been dodgy pricks, but
Yeah.
they've been completely exposed now. I think there's a feeling of, I don't give a shit about any rules and regulations and laws, because if the ones that are putting the laws in place don't give a shit, why the fuck should I?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think I don't know if that's all young people, but if there's an element.
Yeah, but I don't even know whether like the ones that mine know and their friends, I don't even think they'd even know about any of that. I don't even know if you asked them if they would be able to tell you who the Prime Minister. Well, I guess because it has changed quite.
Yeah, no one knows.
A lot. Yeah, yeah.
I had to have a minute there. I was like, who is it this time?
Yeah.
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 But it's, but even going back to the mental health thing, I liked do you still do that gig that I did? The one in.
When did you do it? Where did you do it in Manchester?
Yeah, we did it in that.
Yes, in the zombie shack.
Zombie shack.
Yeah, I've got this little, because during lockdown, because we had no space, so I looked at getting a little office to get some work done, and then I ended up getting the guy that ran this dilapidated old building where each room's a different thing, and it used to be a drama school where Saran Jones and Jane Horrocks went, and Nick Farrier and Rob Riley in Oldham, yeah. And then I just was going to get a little box room to do some work, and then the guy was like, "Oh, do you want to see a bigger room?" And I was like, "Well, definitely not." And then I did, and then I was like, "Oh, I could put my little mental health night in there." So then we've built it into this little community space. So then we have like next week we'll do like a little Christmas event for people that would be alone at Christmas and stuff like that. So we put on all little things like that, and that's where that comedy night is as well. I have it there, which is nice.
Because it was a really nice night. It wasn't just a normal gig. It was like a proper like community get together, and you had a buffet out, and everyone was.
Oh yeah, so you did the Christmas one.
It was Christmas,
I think.
Yeah. So that would have been 2019, maybe.
Goodness, yeah.
Yeah,
always do a little buffet for them because it always was supposed to be for somewhere where the comedians that had, mental health stuff that they wanted to talk about, but then it so quickly became about the audience that a lot of people come that don't really feel comfortable in like normal like comedy environments for fear that they'd be shouted at or whatever, because a lot of them, well, the problem is as well, when you think about it, so many comedians in comedy, without even realising, ask a lot of rhetorical questions. So if there's ever people that are autistic or don't really understand a rhetorical question, they pipe up, but not because they're being a prick. They think it's a question.
They're answering the question. Yeah.
So you get a lot of that where people, oh yes, I went to the zoo once.
I've been to the zoo. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm still friends with a couple of people from that night. There's a woman called Tony, who I met that night, and we're still social media friends, and we interact now and again. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, there's been, I think we've lost a couple, but there's been quite a few. There's one that's, I think, in their 7 year. There's one couple that met at a Barking Tales night, and they've been together for 7 years now, which is lovely, really nice. I think we had 3 couples, but 2 of the couples haven't made it during lockdown, but through no fault of my Barking Tales, may I say.
But that was the first time I became aware of. Because there was someone who was autistic, I think in the front row, and every time they were doing rounds of applause, they'd put their headphones on.
Yeah.
And then that's the first time, and I've used it since. When I know there's been people around that are autistic or have trouble with that kind of thing, when instead of clapping, you just wave, you do jazz hands.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's brilliant. I like that. And
It's nice.
Yeah. And I did it again. I can't remember where I was, but there was someone in the front. I said, do you need us to we'll do jazz hands if you want. It's not a problem. And it was really nice. So,
I need to do it. I need to remember to do it all the time. Because there's a girl that comes to Barky Tales and her ticks get louder with all the...
Yes.
With all the claps. She had once, she emails me before one of the shows and she goes, just thought I should let you know, Harriet, during the weekend I've developed a new tick, because the usual tick would be to shout out kittens, but then she developed a new tick which was a sarcastic laugh. So then I had to tell the comedians, just to let you know, if there is a particularly sarcastic laugh, it isn't meant with malice, it's
just
a new
that one
tick.
person going, ha.
Yeah.
Oh god! But I love that. I love that there's these little places, pockets of people, like bringing people together. It's like with this podcast, like the amount of messages I get from people going, "Yeah, they feel like they're part of something now,"
That's
which
lovely.
is nice. Yeah, it does, and it makes you keep doing it. And that's why I want people on, such as yourself, that have gone through things. I don't want you to have gone through things. That's a sad thing, but I want to hear how you dealt with it and how because you're in a better place now.
Oh, definitely.
What you did to deal with it, because people will listen and they'll go, "Oh yeah, I had a similar thing. That happened to me," and you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry that happened, but here's someone else that it happened to, and here's what they had to say about it." And
yeah, and that's the beauty, I think, with podcasts and stuff like that, because then you're letting just someone find it when it's right for them, isn't it? Without just putting it out there, which is really good, especially I guess after lockdown and stuff, when a lot of things, for people that maybe couldn't get, because we had at Barking Tales someone that couldn't come for a long time because they were agoraphobic, and they'd sometimes even drive to the gig, but then couldn't get out their car and stuff. So just how valuable it is to, even after, because even though lockdown's finished, it hasn't finished for a lot of people, isn't it? They still can't leave their house and stuff. So I think these things are so good, especially talking, what you're talking about, for people to, feel less alone. It's great.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're in a better place now and you're doing all right. Because I think you're great, and it's always lovely to talk to you. And I've been meaning to get you on for ages. It's one of them. I'm like, people keep telling me I've got ADHD, and I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm just unorganised. My brain's a bit fuzzed from COVID. I don't know, but I'm like, I must get. Oh shit, yeah, there's that person. I got married. There were so many people that I just forgot to invite. That I should have invited. Yeah, I'm like, I was with someone the other day. I'm like, yeah, you should have been there. Fuck's sake. There's a mate of mine. There's a mate of mine lives in Spain, Paul Nash, and his lovely wife Moira. And I told him I was getting married. And then because we'd had the conversation about it, I'm like, yeah, he's been invited. That's it. And then the wedding happened.
No.
Yeah, the wedding happened, and he wasn't there. And I'm like, it was like, and the day was busy, so we were running around. But then it was like halfway through the reception. I'm like, oh, Nash isn't here. I wonder what happened there. I'm like, oh, maybe he can get here, maybe that. And I messaged him next day. I went, what happened? Are you all right? He goes, I didn't hear from you. I went, what are you on about? He goes, I didn't get an invitation. I went, I thought we'd spoken. Shit. I hadn't sent him an actual invitation.
Oh no, so was he there thinking?
He's like, oh, he hasn't got. He didn't want to message me in case I'd had me getting married, because it was all sort of sudden, and he kind of went, oh, maybe it's another one of Wilson's capers.
Capers.
Yeah, I've gone off on this thing, getting married, and then I'm not getting married, and it's all collapsed and nothing's happening. And I'm like, and he went, I didn't know where your mental health was at. Maybe something had happened. So I was like, I'll wait to hear from him. I'm like, you fucking dick. You should have messaged me. Anyway.
But you should have asked him.
I should have. I know.
Mentioning a thing and then assuming they'd come from Spain to be there.
Yeah, I just assumed he's just coming over. But that's what I'm like. I go through, I get a burst. And I go, right, yeah. And then I'm inviting everybody, and I'm all organised, I'm this and I'm that. And then it just falls apart again. And I go through waves of organised, fully organised. Everything's happening, everything's flying. We're firing on all cylinders. And the next thing, all the wheels have come off, and I'm just staring at the cupboards, going, what was I doing?
I'm exactly the same. And a friend of mine said, because I get quite manically organised and do a million things, and then will then crash. And then my friend said, because when I do crash, and I get like it anyway, if ever I'm not working constantly, I always think I'm being shit and I need to be better at working. And then, but a friend said, you know what you need to do, Harriet, is you need to remember that when you are being manic and doing everything, you're doing like 7 times the amount of normal people anyway. So you need to, then when you do have a crash, you just need to go, well, I've done ridiculous. So maybe that's the same with you. You've done everything.
I mean, it's the same. Yeah, you kind of go, I've done it all, so chill out.
Yeah.
And then you'll have another burst and you'll do another year's work in a day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I find it terrible. I really find it hard to relax. Because I look forward to a day off, and then when one will come, I'll be like, well, now I don't know what to bloody do with myself. And then I'll get to midday, and I'm like, why?
I'm like that all the time. I'm like, right, I'm going to go to the gym, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And all of a sudden, I've been to the gym, and then it's 3 o'clock. I'm like, well, how did that happen? It was 9 a.m. just now, and I don't know what I've done in that middle bit. And then Kate comes in and says, what have you been doing today? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I did. I don't know. I'm lucky to have people around me like producer Paul that gets shit done.
There's people that maneuver you.
Yeah, he understands how I work now. And he's like, all right, well, you just need to just stand in this bit here and just do that. And he kind of works around me. He's a good man. But listen, Harriet, this has been lovely. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks
really
for
enjoyed
having
it,
me,
mate.
Rich.
Really
Very easy to chat to you.
Went really quick, didn't it, funnily enough?
Yeah.
And where can we find you on all the socials?
Harriet Dyer Comedy, and then harrietdyer.com. I don't think anyone uses a website. Does anyone?
I've got one. I did update it. I did do that.
I don't know if people look on them.
No.
Well, they'd be silly to, because I never update it. so it's all a bit pointless. But yeah, social media, just Harriet Dyer Comedy, I guess. Oh, and my show Trigger Warning is at Soho Theatre on the 11th of April, so I would love for people to come to that.
Excellent. 11th of April 2023, Harriet H. Bomb Dyer will be. You are, that's why it just fits. That nickname fits you. It fits. And she'll be there April. So well done. Harriet, this has been great. Thank you. Have a great weekend, mate. And good Christmas.
Thank you. And you.
Lovely. All right. See you later.
Bye.